Well, hello there and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you are a new follower, then welcome. We're here to show off my sweet mom and teach y'all about FTD and what that is. And if you are coming over from TikTok, if you've already been following me from TikTok, then you know a little bit about what I'm doing here with my sweet mom. So my name is Karen. Anyway, this is my mom, Kathy. Kathy has FTD, and you can call her Kathy or Mom. And this is my dear old dad. You can call him Don or Donnie or the Don or Dapper Don, or you just stick with what he prefers, which is Don. And he is here to help to explain some of the things that I can't get straight. So, so this is what we're here for. So today in our video, our first video, we're going to introduce what FTD is. This is a very uncommon form of dementia, and not too many people have heard about it, as we didn't either when we were going through getting mom diagnosed here. So, and mom is nonverbal. You will not hear her say anything in any of the videos. She is completely nonverbal. So, and no, she won't be able to learn how to talk at this time. That's, a lot of people will ask me, well, you know, can you teach her to sign or things like that? No. So I'm going to turn this over now, and I'm going to let my father explain what is FTD. So go ahead, Dad. What is FTD?
Well, without being an expert, although we've had a lot of years of experience with it now.
We have.
FTD is frontal temporal degeneration, and that is a condition that affects the frontal temporal lobes of the brain, and it results from the nerves degenerating in there and some atrophy in the brain, and it starts typically before Alzheimer's does, or earlier than Alzheimer's does, sometimes as early as 20 years old.
Yeah.
In Kathy's case, it started probably when she was around 60. You don't always know exactly when it starts because, among other things, it starts changing their behavior and other things, and it just doesn't happen all at once. So you start...
And it doesn't happen the same in each person. So when we say changing behaviors, that doesn't mean that we'll see the same type of behavior changes in each person that has FTD. It can come across in many different ways, many different types of behaviors.
That's right. There's about 5 variants that I believe is the case for FTD, and the most common one, which is the one that Kathy has, is the behavioral variant. And that's where we did start to notice things where her behavior would change. And as Karen says, it doesn't all have to be the same changes in behavior for people. It does affect speech. It does affect appropriate behavior. They can have loss of empathy on things. There's a lot of different ways that it can change. They can start making inappropriate comments, kind of some loss of self-control, etc.
A few examples of some of this with my mom, early on with her, was some changes of behavior with my mom were obsessing over those gossip magazines like Star, People, Inquirer. She would really obsess over them, had to have every new magazine every week, and would hold conversations with anyone that would listen, and would believe everything that she would read as if this were like true and going on in our lives. Another change of behavior that I noticed in her was much earlier on. I'd come over and she'd have some pretty wild makeup going on there, or her hair would be done in a very childish kind of way, which would kind of catch me off guard, like, Mom, why is your blush so dark? Oh, well, it looks beautiful. No, that's a little off, Mom. So some weird things like that, in Mom in particular, but that doesn't mean in other people in FTD that they would have seen me. So,
and it wasn't happening all at once. Also, we'd notice something one time, and that might be several weeks, a month later, and there'd be something else that was odd. So we weren't really thinking about there was a problem. She was going through a lot of physical ills at the time, and we were taking her to different kinds of doctors to check things out. And it really wasn't until our other daughter, Jen, happened to be doing some internet research and said, you know, some of these things that I'm seeing occur in FTD. Do you think it's possible that that's what's going on with Mom? And so we happened to have a neurologist appointment for the headaches that she said she was having at the time. And I brought it up, and they did some cognitive tests that started us on a path to getting a diagnosis. Technically, you don't get a final diagnosis until you have an autopsy, but between MRIs and the behavior changes and some other things, the doctors pretty well confirmed that yes, that's what she's dealing with, is frontotemporal degeneration. And we've seen nothing since then, which has been about 10 years now, to indicate
so far
that it's
we've
anything
seen
else.
So far, we've also seen no reason to perform an autopsy as of yet. So we'll hold off on that one.
Right.
Right? And Mom is not asleep, for anyone that gets curious when they see her eyes closed. This is just something that she will do when she's relaxing. It does not mean that she's sleeping. So we're not making her sit up and sleep like this. This is just how Mom is. She'll sometimes close her eyes and relax. You'll see her shaking her head back and forth like this. That does not mean she's disagreeing with anything that we're saying. It's just a comfort thing that she'll do for herself. So right now she's actually looking over. We have a big window over there, and she's looking out the front window. So it's a place that she likes to enjoy. So going further into FTD, Dad. So once we had Mom diagnosed, wasn't it shortly after then, she started a little, it was like a study or something with University of Penn.
Right. The doctor that she sees, it's a specialist in it, is out of the University of Penn, and they've been involved in doing a lot of research on FTD because it wasn't a very well-known condition until more recent years. People probably diagnosed it as early Alzheimer's or other things, and you know, they're still learning about it now.
Very commonly misdiagnosed for Alzheimer's.
Yeah, and you know, it definitely is its own condition. There are maybe certain similarities with Alzheimer's, but the causes of it are a little bit different as far as what's going on in the brain. And in Kathy's case, one of the progressive elements of the FTD has been the loss of speech. And that happened over a period of time. You know, at first she could converse normally and intelligently, etc. But as each year went by, she was shorter sentences, maybe having trouble finding the word that she wanted. And, you know, it eventually has evolved to where probably for about 3 years now, she's been nonverbal.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. It's probably getting closer to 4 at this point, but
yeah,
time tends to pass a little slowly because we have a very similar routine from day to day, but fortunately she's one of the nice things in terms of her condition for her is that she's been very cooperative and pleasant, and that's not always the case in FTD. Sometimes they can be very aggressive, sometimes they can, and she did do a little bit of this in the beginning, maybe make an inappropriate comment, you know, something that, you know, Kathy, you got to lower your voice. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that was going on for a while when I was taking her out to stores and things. A little difficult for caregivers sometimes. It can be a little embarrassing, but they really are unaware of what they're doing is inappropriate.
Right, she'd comment on how somebody looked, or I didn't like their hair, or you know, whatever it happened to be, but it wouldn't be in just a little whisper.
Yeah, no.
It would be in a, you know, normal talking voice, if not louder.
Yeah, and pointing, like arm extended pointing.
So you'd have to kind of hush her up a little bit, but she did stop doing that. But other factors that she had was loss of empathy. And interest in things. She's unfortunately stopped caring about the grandkids, for example, or asking Karen or our other daughter, you know, what's going on in their life. And she'd always been a very involved grandmother.
Very.
Loved playing with the kids, loved staying overnight with them.
Yep.
And
always was my source of a break when I needed one from my children. I could just call Mom and she would take them. It was wonderful.
But she started losing interest in those things until, you know, you wouldn't even know that the grandkids were with her because she would just really not be trying to interact with them at all.
Yeah.
And very early on in the process, her mother passed away, and
Yeah, that
Kathy
was a
didn't
rough
want to
one.
go to the funeral. You know, she didn't seem to think, you know, it was important.
That was hard. Mom had convinced herself basically that she didn't want to go to. We were headed out to where my grandmother was staying. Her mom was, you know, in a memory care unit at that point, and was in the process of passing. And we went to say our final goodbyes, and Mom was very, very, very uninterested, and didn't want to go. And I spent a lot of time talking her into it. And you know, and eventually we just took her anyway. But yeah, no emotion whatsoever for her mom passing at all.
And at the funeral, for example, she didn't understand why people were crying, and it was just hard to understand because she'd always been a caring person, but it was just part of what was being lost in her brain. You know, those typical characteristics that she had, and now she's very unemotional, very level, but fortunately cooperative and not fighting us on things and making it difficult. So.
And at this point with Mom too, this has been going on for, well, she's been diagnosed probably about 10 years now with this going on for a couple to a few years prior to that we couldn't really figure out what was going on yet, no diagnosis. So this has been at least 10 years, over 10 years now. So Mom is at a more declined state. She was doing way more before this. So, you know, you'll see other people in an earlier stage of FTD where they might be, you know, very out and about still and you know, social and things like that. But as time goes on, it declines, you know, more and more. However, Mom's rather healthy. She just has FTD, all the effects from it, and she's nonverbal. But other than that, she's actually really healthy.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
In the beginning, even after the initial diagnosis, she was still functioning what you said pretty much normally. She could be left alone during the day. We did have to take her license away so that she couldn't drive.
But we did that in a nice way. I liked the way that you did that. It wasn't so much of just pulling her license from her, like, that's it, you can't drive anymore. We were all terrified watching her drive. So what my dad did was he took her down to a specific rehab center near us that does driver's tests for people that might have brain injuries or things like that to see if you're still okay to drive. So Dad took her to that. She did a driving test. Mom felt that she did perfectly fine and she didn't see anything wrong with how she drove. However, her license was revoked that day. So, you know, and so that way it was more of a legal sense and not just, you know, one of her loved ones, you know, taking something from her. I think there's a really big difference in doing something like that.
Technically, it wasn't revoked because this place is not a state driver's examination, and so they gave her a test that would be similar to what the state would do, and she did things like getting in their car, you know, not her own, not adjusting mirrors, not looking to back up, you know, to check things. When she got to the street from the end of the driveway, she was kind of rash and pulled out when she shouldn't because those are judgmental issues, and those are things that she was losing. So
And impulse control.
The impulse control, and so the examiner said, well, I can't take her license away, but she would not pass the state exam. So we told a nice white lie, and we told Kathy that her license had been revoked. And for about a year, she would say, I can't believe I'm not allowed to drive. I'm a good driver. But we knew better, and she eventually adjusted, and you know, she's
and
rides
even
with
when
us.
even when she couldn't believe that her license was taken and she thought that she should still be allowed to drive, she still didn't, at that point, because lack of emotion had already kicked in, she really didn't show signs that she cared. It was just that she would mention, like, I don't know why I'm not allowed to drive anymore, you know, type of thing.
But you could leave her alone during the day. She had hobbies that she did, and you know, other things that she might have been doing, but you didn't have to worry about her because she was still functioning in a lot of cognitive ways, and certainly in physical ways. But as time went on, and the decline kept up, it's more and more where she needs to be taken care of each day, and fortunately we've been able to keep that at home because she's, you say, cooperative, not aggressive. It's familiar to her. I get a lot of help from Karen and our other daughter,
and she really is as easy as you will see in my YouTube videos. If you already know us from my TikTok videos, what you see with Mom in my videos is an excellent representation of how she is on a day-to-day basis. She's really as easy and as sweet as you guys see in these videos. So we've been very fortunate about that, and Mom has not suffered at all, which is probably the best thing about all of this. There's no suffering. She's not suffering.
And it's interesting the way she is now, because throughout her life she was an emotional person,
Yeah.
ups and downs and so forth, and now it's like kind of a constant poker face and not a lot of expression, although she does smile, which is one of the nice things that at times, apparently she's not thrilled at this particular video right now, but sometimes she'll be smiling through it, and when she sees you, she might smile if she recognizes you.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people she doesn't recognize anymore.
Yeah.
But it's different, so you have to adjust.
They say, though, because I read this not too long ago, there is a great website for anyone that's interested called, I'll have to link it in my video, but it's theaftd.org. Very easy read, very informative. And I actually read in there that, which I didn't realize up until just recently when I read it, that it was saying something about how they are not really losing their memory. So she may hold a lot of memories. So if I'm talking about something, if she catches on and understands what I'm saying, because it's kind of like a tunnel vision only with your hearing, if she picks up on what I'm saying, she may actually even remember these things.
I think so. It's hard to say because of the lack of expression back to you, but I know for a long time she did like looking at the pictures we had. Certainly the house is familiar to her, which is why we like to keep her at home when we can and not just immediately put her in a memory care facility. There may be things where they might do better than we do in taking care of her, but we think we do pretty well. And this seems to be comfortable for her, and she seems content. And
yeah, I think she's probably
generally happy, but she's just not smiling right now.
Yeah, but she actually does really like to look at herself. When I do the TikTok videos, she seems to enjoy looking at herself in the camera. And I know if we put her in front of the mirror, if she happens to see herself in front of a mirror, she'll look at herself, smile, fix her hair a little bit, things like that. So she seems to enjoy looking at herself in the mirror, whether she is connecting that it's her or not. I feel like she is, though, because she's fixing her hair. So, but she does.
And she's generally smiling when she's looking at herself in the mirror, so I think she recognizes herself. And, so we try to keep her looking nice and dressing nice and that, because I think it helps make her feel good about herself to the extent that she can.
That was always very important to Mom. She was always very, very fancy, very into fashion, very into having her nails done, makeup, hair, all that stuff. And we keep up with all of that, including her hair. The only thing we don't do on a regular basis is paint her nails or put makeup on her. But we will do that if there's an occasion, if a family member's getting married or something of the sort, then we'll, my sister and I or a family member will put some makeup on her and paint her nails. So we do that, but otherwise Dad does like to keep her looking nice. He buys her new clothes and everything. So, and then I always have to come over and make sure they look nice. I'm the tester. So yeah. So and to wrap this video up, so in a nutshell, a recap on what FTD is, and that will wrap up today's video.
Well, the main thing is it's a progressive dementia that starts often at a younger age, and it's one that there's no medicine for it or anything else. You just have to adjust to it and have to adjust to the new routines, something that they'll refer to as join the journey. You can't really teach Kathy new things or expect that she's going to, remember something that she didn't, that she's lost the ability to do. And sometimes it's inconsistent. She can do some things like tie her own shoes.
But we allow her to do what she can do. So
Yeah.
if we know that she can do it, whether it be through muscle memory or whatever the reason is, if she's capable of it, we have her do it.
But we have to guide her and time
Mom's
it
okay. This is a normal noise. She makes a shivering noise. That's probably the...
when she sneezes. Yeah.
Yes, when she sneezes or just once in a while. So don't get worried about little noises Mom makes. That's normal. So, yeah.
But where you going back to what she can do, what you help her with is things like, okay, now it's time to brush your teeth, for example. She wouldn't go in on her own necessarily to brush her teeth in the morning or at night, so you take her in, put some toothpaste on the brush and give her the brush and she'll brush her teeth. So just things like that, you just adjust to it and say, okay, this is the new routine, and as something changes, you adjust your routine a little more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it's worked for us, which is fortunate because, as we were talking about earlier, sometimes the people aren't so cooperative that have FTD, and
Yeah.
it's much harder to take care of them, and the spouses that are often the caregivers have more difficulty. So FTD is not a fortunate thing, but we've been fortunate with the type of variant that she's had and the things that she exhibits.
Yeah, very good. So that's FTD. Thanks for joining in, guys, and we hope to put out some more videos and information for you guys. Thanks for your support and love. Makes this a lot easier to deal with so much support out there. Thank you.